What is up, everybody? Today we are here for another new episode of Severance, Season 2, Episode 2. Um, Before we get into the actual episode, though, I think I do have a decent amount I want to talk about. The last reaction, we kind of cut it short at the end abruptly because I think I had something to do right after. But I did have some thoughts that I didn't get to say, so we'll say it here. And also, I did end up rewatching the episode a couple of times afterwards and reading episode discussion threads that made me think more about other stuff. So I generally don't like getting too much into discussing theories, but this show, Severance, is just like a show that's like literally built for this kind of experience when you're watching it live. So yeah, we're gonna kind of treat this show differently and not hold back with discussing our thoughts and theories and stuff for things to come. I legit had to like type out bullet point notes since I watched the season premiere last week, and I've been thinking about it all week. And yeah, I'm gonna have to reference it right now even to cover all the things I wanted to talk about. So if you guys don't want to sit through that, perfectly understandable. I'll try to put the timestamp on when we get into the reaction, but if not, you guys are grown-ups, right? You can probably find it just by doing the basic features. I believe in you. So I shit you guys not, I was literally editing the video, the reaction, to post it on YouTube, and I had to do like all this intricate stuff, or in general you have to avoid like the copyright algorithm on YouTube. And I was just not feeling at all editing the video, but at some point I was forcing myself through it, and then I got into kind of like a groove, and it made me work faster and whatnot. And it literally made me think that I was like kind of like in a Severance situation there, because the macro data refinement peeps, they like are able to get into a groove and like do their refining really well for some reason. And yeah, it felt like that. So I'm going to use that little anecdote right there to segue into the first like kind of elephant in the room topic. For last episode was the ending with how Mark was getting into the groove of his refining, and then it intercut the frames shots of Gemma. I don't know why I just said Gemma, and it looked like the work that he was doing was like directly about her, and it was called like Code Harbor or something. But yeah, I think the consensus, the pretty common sense interpretation of that, given what we know about what the show has told us so far, including in season 1, is that because it's someone close to him, he's able to do the macro data refining work at a better capacity, or at all even, maybe. So that gives us kind of a clue as to what their job is. It seems that at least in their department, the MDR people, their work is directly involved with like the actual severing of people, or like maintenance of their severance status or something like that. And this actually links to like other subtle details in the show that I've noticed, or like am kind of theorizing about, because like after season 2 episode 1 last week, I kind of got into the mindset of like kind of wondering like why Lumen seems to be so obsessed with Mark. Like, he is the main character of the show, but like canonically it doesn't seem like there's much reason for him to be like so important to them, compared to someone like Helly, who is like, the on the board or whatever, a higher up. But Mark is just this regular guy. But for some reason, they have both him and his wife as severed people, and they are doing a lot to keep him on his job. Like, he was the only one who was brought back at the beginning last week. Then it wasn't until they acquiesced to his rebellious demands that they brought the other 3 of them, Dylan, Irv, and Helly, back. So it makes me wonder if the show is going to like kind of inevitably have to do the kind of cliche where the main character ends up being revealed as some like chosen one kind of trope. Like, maybe it won't be that fatalistic, like he was born or destined to be that important to them. But I think with some other clues I've like kind of, not even clues, but just details I'm theorizing about, the whole thing about them hitting quota, then the newbies in the last episode, Mark W, saying that his department never reached quota, which makes it kind of sound like Mark's team is special, or maybe even like they're the first people to ever consistently hit quota or something. Then also the reveal that their office branch apparently is like the original office or something. it makes their whole group and him seem like that much more special. So I'm like low key theorizing that they're special because they are like the company's really counting on them based off their success to prove that their severance can be like a legit thing, or like if they can take it to the next level. It's also kind of peculiar to me that they are all, with the exception of Dylan and Helly because she's like a plant or whatever, so I guess it's just half, but still, Irv and Mark are, they in their outie lives they are kind of like loners, but inside when they're doing their MDR macro data refining, there's like an easy person connected to them in the outside world that you could say that they are probably doing the refining on. Like Mark has Gemma or Miss Casey, and then Irving is maybe doing the MDR macro data refinement on Bert, or he was when he was still severed. I don't know where the hell he is now, but it's in turn also interesting that the people that they're refining are not only also Severance employees, but people who work in different departments that aren't MDR. And to me, it's still kind of fishy that they haven't shown Dylan's wife on screen at all. I do remember Milchick saying that she said that Innie Dylan would have wanted to know her name, but that's like easily something they could lie about. So I am kind of low-key theorizing that there's like an incoming twist about Dylan's outside life. So yeah, I feel like with this general setup of like the MDR people refining people they know, and Mark and his team kind of being perhaps like a team that the company's really relying on to like prove that they can move to the next threshold, there's kind of like a 6 degrees of separation concept going on here, and it like maybe like the grand scheme of things, it might link back to them like somehow trying to do something with like the original Kier or something. The one thing that they revealed in the last episode though that kind of threw me off kilter is the whole like reveal of like Lumen being worldwide. I feel like that was them kind of jumping the shark in a sense, because it makes the company feel way too like big and universal and ubiquitous. But when you compare it to like the details of like last season, how like they're still trying to get the politicians, like the dude who had his pregnant wife severed, to like be on board and like lobby for them and stuff, it feels like that's like this a premature age before like a company goes like super international and has such global influence, you know? Moving on to topic number 2 is the Helly. The elephant in the room. Is Helly actually Helena? Is she a plant spying on them right now? We threw that out there in our reaction last week. It was a pretty in your face or on the nose implication. As of right now, I'm still kind of on the fence. I'd say it's like pretty close to 50-50. And I'm not gonna lie, I've been like bouncing back and forth between the sides a lot this past weekend thinking about it. And oddly enough, at this point in time, I feel like the biggest determining factors aren't the actual explicit clues that they showed, but like more so just how smart we think the show treats its audience, as well as like the actual acting of the actress for Helly, Britt Lower, I think her name is. Because in terms of the writing itself, like they made Irv call Helly out on her like BS story like right after she told it. And I feel like this show is like too smart, or it treats its audience too smart to like have to hold our hands and like explicitly tell us or like alert us that like, yo, that this is a suspicious thing she just did. And then they threw in like the other details, like how she couldn't find like the power switch on the monitor or whatever for her computer. But then at the end of the episode, they like do an about face, and then they make her like say something that Helly totally would have said. She did some like real crash out speech about how like they don't owe the Audis anything, and it's like it's us or them basically. But it kind of just feels like too simplistic a bait and switch, you know? And like the whole time from the start, I was just thinking like, how come her story was like, it was such a bad story to make up when she wasn't even coming up with that on the spot. She had like 5 months if it is Helena, but if it's Helly, then it makes sense that that was something that she came up with on the spot, with the flaw in the logic with the gardener being there at night. So at this point, yeah, I think maybe I veer a little more towards it being actually Helly, and the justification was that she was just pretty conflicted about it, and she didn't know how the others would react at the news of her apparently being part of this whole system that is subjugating them, one of the ones at the top even. But it doesn't make that much sense to me because Kelly is like the one who would react the most impulsively to like a realization of that from one of them. So she should probably know that the others would be more chill about it, more understanding, but maybe it's her forcing her own expectations on herself and being hard on herself, which kind of makes sense, but yeah. Topic number 3. Apparently, a lot of people are into the theory that Mrs. Huang is actually like Miss Cobell, like inside her body or something. But even beyond that, there's like people apparently thinking that Mrs. Huang, the body at least of the kid, is like the child of Mark and Gemma, or just like Gemma, like when she was younger. I actually didn't even remember that I made the joke offhand that Miss Cobell was Miss Huang. But when I was editing the reaction for the episode, I noticed that I did actually say that, which isn't too crazy because the episode was named Hello Miss Cobell, I think. And she wasn't anywhere in the episode. So you have to kind of guess that she's technically in it somewhere, just not in her conventional form or whatever. The bigger stretch, I would say, is that the whole thing about Miss Huang being like Casey and Mark's child, or Casey when she was younger. I'm going to be honest, just because I'm Asian, I kind of by default didn't like consider that at all, just because the actresses for those two Asian characters didn't look like the same type of Asian to me at all. So I just kind of by default dismissed that, or like didn't even consider that at all. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it is true because maybe the creators of the shows themselves don't really consider that kind of detail, I guess. Last but not least, I just want to throw out some like quick thoughts, mini low-key theories, I guess, on the topic of what I said earlier about like the show treating its audience smarter than like most shows, I guess. I'm gonna theorize that because we saw the new group of MDR people get like ousted out of the show so quickly within like the first half of the episode or whatever, there actually is like some stuff, some details in the things that they said while they were on screen that is gonna play into the reveal of like something big, like a big plot twist or development, because that's like the type of smart that I would expect out of a show like this. And so one detail that kind of hung on me when I was rewatching it in the background was when the Italian guy was saying, it came off as a joke, but he was saying about how like their elevator, they didn't have an elevator, it was just like a rope, and like the implication was they were so poor that they couldn't afford the elevator and they just had to climb the rope up and down to work every day apparently. That combined with the whole thing about Lumen being worldwide makes me kind of theorize that he wasn't joking, and like there are like branches, international branches out there that are like that poor and destitute, and maybe there are like parts of the world that are like post-apocalyptic, maybe because of Lumen's reign over that territory or something, and like the place that we see in the show, America, I guess is where it's based, is like, you know, in danger of becoming the next one. I actually haven't been paying attention to how much this show is supposed to be based in the real world, not only in terms of location but also time period. Like I know that they mentioned last week, the Gwendolyn girl mentioned how they theorized that they're working in like Wyoming or something, so obviously they're following a general framework of the real life. But I feel like there's still, maybe I've missed like some dates or something, but I feel like there is still the potential for them to do like a twist where it's like maybe it's not our society in the current century or whatever, and it might be like way in the future or something, like not way in the future but enough to be like pseudo post-apocalyptic, you know? I read this one commenter who pointed out that Irv, he coincidentally didn't tell the others about the painting he was doing with the elevator and the red light until he was alone with Dylan and away from Helly, perhaps because he was suspicious of her after she told her BS story, alibi or whatever. And that was kind of interesting. I don't think it's true that he did it specifically because of that. It was probably way more believable that it was because he was like out of sorts and he was still processing things and he didn't feel like talking about that yet. But that's the actual kind of ambiguity that I like in a show when they're trying to tease like a mystery like this. It's like, did he do that because he was out of sorts, or did he also do that because he was suspicious for her, or was it because of both? That's the kind of writing I like, because it like balances it on this like thin line, and like no matter which way it goes, you can look back at it and go like, oh wow, either way would have made perfect sense. It all just kind of boiled down to what I felt like my gut feeling interpretation was, but that's pretty cool. One last thing, at some point I was also thinking about Irv, and how his Audi version in the last two episodes of season one, for some reason he had like a map already of the location of Bert's address and probably some other Severance employees as well. I don't know how heavily implied this might have been, and maybe I just missed some context clues, or how like hard theorized this has already been, because it's been like 3 years since season one. But my theory on that is that all those people he had like mapped out are like fellow Navy military that were part of his unit or something, and they like all went into Severance together mutually to forget about like their PTSD essentially. That was kind of the default interpretation I had for Bert's character as soon as they revealed that he was in the military. But now I'm thinking that on top of that, while his whole group of Navy might have joined the Severance program because of PTSD, but I'm going to speculate that Irv, on top of that, also was suffering from his unrequited love for Audi Bert as well. So Innie, Irv, and Audi Irv both loved their respective Berts, and that's why he kind of lived a pretty quote-unquote miserable, lonely lifestyle even in the outside world after he joined the Severance program too. And Bert was like happily married. If that ends up being true, I feel like there's like a really good potential for like maybe not so much a happy ending for Irv, but one with great closure. Like if the end game of this show's story is like the Innies being able to attain freedom, or like go to the Audi world, or like reintegrate and like blend in with their Audi to become one, and then live like a peaceful life outside, then if Audi Irv loved Audi Bert as well, then the Audi and the Innie versions of Irv reintegrate together, and they were feeling the same, they kind of went through the same character arc and suffering. So it's like they already both understand each other, both sides, and it just joins together. And there's not much collateral damage from that kind of integration, because if they were kind of already the same, then them merging doesn't really like do any collateral damage to Audi Irv's lifestyle that he got from sentencing his Innie version to do work for him. Then they can go on to interact with Audi Bert in the outside world, because right now, as far as we know, Innie Bert is completely dead. And because that happened, we felt like there was no way for Innie Irv to get any closure or have a happy ending. That's why at the, not at the end of last week, but in last week's episode, he was even, contemplating suicide essentially. So if he gets to reintegrate, then meet with Audi Bert, he can maybe get some closure by, giving his Audi version, who is now part of him because they reintegrated, his closure with Audi Bert. And that can be kind of like a good ending for Irv's character, I think. That would be pretty cool. All right, guys, the rant is over. The rant that might end up being longer than the reaction content itself. But without further ado now, we're going to jump right into the episode. Severance, Season 2, Episode 2, entitled Goodbye, Mrs. Selvig, which is an interesting contrast, so to speak, from last week, which was called Hello, Mrs. Cobell. But if you think about it, it's technically another way of saying the exact same thing, because it's like messing around with their concept of how Cobell and Selvig are, two sides of the same coin. So saying hello to one of them is like saying goodbye to the other. All right. Okay, so we are pressing play in 3, 2. I really hope there's a opening sequence.
No. Listen, we're not happy.
This week. Wait, am I watching the wrong episode? It's the same. We're doing the same thing as last week.
She's alive!
Oh, that is smart. Playing the same opening, but this time. Oh my god. I should have saw that coming because of what I literally just said about the episode title. Two sides of the same coin, the same thing.
So this is you now?
Yeah.
Okay, I was about to say that they need to have an opening sequence this week because it's blasphemous that they don't have one this season after they won like an Emmy for the one last season. But since this episode is like a mirror of last week, I can forgive them for not playing it this week as well. But it has to be here next week. It just has to. That was very clever though. That was such a good way to make me kind of like jump out of my seat at the very beginning of the episode. Already invested, locked in, even though I'm talking a lot. It's so just now I thought that was fuck, what's his name? The sister's husband. And that just made me remember that I actually saw like a theory that people were theorizing that it was kind of strange how her husband kind of looks like the Kier bloodline. Oh, this is like immediately after, huh? Thought they were maybe redoing that bathroom scene, but
Fetid Moppet.
ooh, fetid moppet.
Father?
Yo, why isn't she just like throwing hands on him right now? Like, how could they punish her if she did that?
I'll have someone from the floor.
Oh, I just realized that
That's who they talk to.
that's Helena, not Innie Helly. I was so thrown because the father seemed so angry. But I guess there's like some complex between the real two of them where he's like a very high expectations father and sees her as a failure, maybe. What is going on here? Why is Dylan at a Lumen? Oh, he's sending him back to his Audi life. it just goes to show that even though it's like a concept we should grasp by now, we still get thrown off. I mean, maybe it's just me because I'm stupid.
I need you to go see all of them. Find out every word they said and who they said it to. Let Kier guide your hand.
Of course.
Yo, look at how on top of things she is. There's no way that was the best alibi she could come up with to Mark and the others. It's definitely got to mean that it was actual Helly, right? Look at this badass bitch walk. She's in control of everything. There's no way she wouldn't know all the details. But why does it seem like she's so in charge of like maybe like the top dog even, but her dad is still disappointed in her? Oh? Harmony? Is that her first name?
We've
That's a
commandeered the footage taken by
huge
guests. Natalie is already
table.
doing outreach to media.
They must have a lot of
The
board
several employees
members.
who were involved so quickly.
But if the security guard guy is
Saved us
sitting
from
down at
disaster.
one so
Mr.
nonchalantly,
Egan,
then
Just
maybe
me.
they're not all for board members.
It cost me dearly.
what is that supposed to mean?
Till you proved your loyalty tonight.
Is he just being dramatic? I destroyed my altar.
Which is why we'd like to ask you back. Apology.
What's the severance package like? What are my benefits? Whoa, why is Milchek so decked out? Like he's in a fucking cyberpunk movie.
We fear no one.
I mean, it does kind of
Coming
sound
in harmony. Mr.
kind of sus. Like they're offering you a promotion, but it's like this brand new department. Like maybe it's genuine because they need a new department to handle or prevent something like this ever happening again. But at the same time, it kind of sounds like a not so genuine thanks.
I made the poor decision to consume alcohol while on a non-lumen medication for an arm rash.
Alcohol? That's your excuse?
Creating effect. which caused me to say some deeply regrettable things.
But sadly enough, a pathetic attempt like that actually works in real life as well. Oh, he's hiding it. Audi Irv is...
Oh, God. What did I eat in there?
He's on that business.
Principal.
Dude, Milchick's actor's face has got this wholesome quality to it. He kind of looks like a Winnie the Pooh.
You're firing me.
Oh? Oh, he's firing Dylan as well. I feel like Audi Dylan would be the most affected by that. I feel like he depends on the income. Because he's a family man, I guess.
You can't just do that. What happened? Did I break something? I can...
But Irv, yeah, I'm kind of wondering if Irv is genuinely distraught over this. Or he's just trying to get as much details as possible because he's like investigating on the DL. Yeah, so this goes back to my theory at the beginning that I mentioned earlier. Like, why did they keep Mark of all people? It's not worth it, right? Oh, then Mark, he lives in... No, he doesn't live... Does he live in Lumen housing? Yeah, I think they did mention that. I was about to say he lives... I was about to assume that he does because he lived next to Cobell, but Cobell could have been doing that on her own... what is it? Opening sequence! Alright, I'm gonna shut up. Remind me to finish my thought after this. Alright, same music? I'm pretty down with that actually. Yo! Oh, there's like a clue right there, it feels like, being... I'm too stupid to try to piece anything together. I just kind of want to enjoy it. Seeing balloons being a pretty big imagery this season. Oh shit, what is that? Oh, what the fuck? I was trying to see if there are any goats on that field, but it didn't look like goats. It looked like balloons. What the fuck? What? Why are... Okay, it feels like they almost tried too hard to make it creepier than last time.
Obviously, I was referencing the baby.
Oh no! Audi Mark is his own worst enemy.
Yes.
His Innie's worst enemy.
No, yeah, I agree.
That's disappointing.
Been a weird fucking night, Mark.
Oh my God.
Why are you getting aggressive with me right now?
Okay.
Wait, why is Audi Mark being like this? He wanted to quit. I don't know why, but Audi Mark seems to be acting so differently than from what I remember him as in season 1, especially at the end of season 1.
It must be Devin.
After all of his investigative work. If their house is this nice, why did they have to rent that whole baby camp place?
I can only imagine how violated you feel.
Yeah, speaking of violations, just wondering how common it is for your managers to commit fucking lactation fraud against their employees' families.
Lactation fraud.
What we learned tonight is that she is quite severely unwell, and her behavior at Lumen seems to be the source of your Innie's distress.
Okay, I'll be honest.
To that floor again.
If I'm the Audi people, this is a pretty convincing excuse, context, justification, given how limited I am in the know about things. I feel like Milchick should be a lot more acquiescent to his sister, though, seeing as how Cobell, like, directly wronged her with the nurse lactation thing. Like, that's a lot of damage
I hope to see you Monday.
control he should be doing,
Yeah, I don't
and
know,
addressing towards her too.
What your Innie did tonight was completely unauthorized. It was also very brave. I'd hate to reward his courage with non-existence.
Oh damn, that's a zinger. What is your story, Audi Irv? You finding something in your pocket he left, Bert? Dude, come on, I'm calling it, man. Audi Irv loves Audi Bert too. It's unrequited love. There's no way they don't have enough footage of them to ascertain that they were all in on it together, right? Not just Dylan was able to find his way into the control room or whatever. Did Milchek even tell Mark what they did with Cobell, if she was like taken away or anything? Because if I was him, I'd be pretty scared about coming back home if she might still be next to me. Oh, he's actually knocking on her door. Is he gonna break into her house? Do it, man. Do it. Look at the fucking destroyed shrine she has in there.
You think we're about to meet our spouses?
Batshit they all are. Why is her car parked there? She took it, didn't she?
Honey.
It must be kind of weird seeing you that you don't know falling in love with someone and kissing them. It's pretty surreal, huh? Oh, you had to change the angle just to make sure it was a kiss. So fazed by it that she paused the playback. Dang. She must have no love in her regular life. And now she's just so happy that she was able to find it. But through her Innie. I wish I had what they had.
In case we don't come back. In case we do.
Okay, so they kind of did plant seeds too, that there's like some contentiousness between her and her father. So like, do you guys think it's possible that Helena gets a redemption arc even this season? Or even at all? Is reintegration between Helly and Helena possible with them being able to like mutually be appeased with it? Yo, they still haven't shown his wife. Okay, but if we go back to the basic concept of Severance, like if all he cared about was providing his family for his family, then he could have just worked a normal job. The fact that he went for Severance means there's something underlying. Is he just a very anxiety-ridden person who can't work in real life? He's like a complete contrast to his Innie self, maybe?
Healthcare benefits?
Oh, is his
sure,
wife
yes, of
sick,
course, for
maybe?
you.
Does she sound sickly? I kind of feel like she has a sickly sound to her.
Hey, do we need more baby wipies?
I don't think so.
You know what?
She sounds like she's sleeping. But if he's asking about baby wipes, then that must mean she stays... It's not like she's at the hospital or anything.
Jesus Christ, are you serious?
Dude, Audi Mark is being so
sorry.
uncooperative.
Haven't you been trying to get me to quit that place since I got there? I thought I was finally doing what you want.
I mean, I guess that's a justification. Because he wants to quit, he doesn't want to think about it that much anymore at all.
Then what are you doing? You remember I identified her, right?
Yes.
And yeah, it is a touchy topic for him, of course. He saw her body?
Just get like a half step more confirmation, then it's not going to be something that continues to haunt us.
It's not
during-
haunting me, it's haunting you, is
She's
what
my
he wants
family
to say.
too, Mark. Fuck.
Yeah, but she was my wife. Oh, really? It affected you?
Yes.
Did you have to tell her parents that she was dead?
Okay, Mark's being
How
kind of
about
a
her
dick.
students? You know what? Honestly, if Rickon died and his
Oh, he's about
body
to say something
burned,
really
I'd
fucked
be
up.
sad for you, but I wouldn't be affected.
I just want to be sure.
I am sure. See you later.
Mark.
I can kind of understand why it's a touchy subject, but I don't know, he's kind of being a dick at the same time, you know? Yeah, we kind of know how this goes. Audi Mark says shit to deny his feelings, but then you get like a moment like this where he's like somberly looking at something and you know he's actually curious, so then he like quietly goes and investigates and yada yada. All right, Irv, how about you? You're more of a man of action kind of guy, right? Bert, he's calling Bert. My Innie got the message? He's using a payphone too. That's pretty damn covert. Is this the Rickon lookalike watching him? Oh, it's Bert! Yo, if Bert can don a face like that, then he was probably military too. My theory, it has to be true.
I ask because our endearment to you is such that a 20% bump is on the table. Should you
Okay, yeah, let's kind of pay attention to this. They fired the other peeps, but they're willing to give him a
into your Innie's claims
raise.
and regular wellness checks from independent boards.
As far as we've been shown, he didn't bother trying to get any details out of the other
My third
Audis
question
with incentives like
concerns
a
your late
raise.
wife.
Yo, maybe they want people who have lost someone and to bring them back through MDR in some way, shape, or form.
And he's funny.
As research on how to do it for the original
He knows
Kier,
nothing
who's
of the
long
pain I
since
see in you right
passed.
now. The solace you have given him down there will make its way to you. It just takes time.
You know what? That's actually something I can kind of
I
believe
hope you'll give us that
that
time.
they genuinely believe as people in that cult. Like, maybe that's part of their objective. Like they think that by making innies you can like feel emotions from them and get like closure that otherwise would have been impossible to achieve in quote unquote real life, outside life. Because the main thing, the first thing, the most obvious thing, I don't know how to word it, about cults is that the victims, the members, are usually people who are taken advantage of at very low points in their lives, spiritually, emotionally, financially, whatever you want to call it. Yo, is this guy a board member or is he just a muscle? 48 hours? So the 5 months was a
We
lie.
don't need chemistry. We need Mark S. back to work.
And they need Mark S. back to
Long enough
work.
to complete Cold Harbor.
Cold Harbor! Gemma! Why is that so important to them? Okay, so if it's only been 48 hours, then maybe it's believable that Helena couldn't come up with a better alibi.
I did.
Yo, why is Cold Harbor so important? Ooh, the plot thickens. It's only been 48 hours. It's kind of, I don't know if I would say ass pull, but it's pretty convenient how they were able to do away with the public outcry of Helly's actions. Like, all she had to say was she was drunk. I felt like that would have had bigger repercussions that they couldn't avoid. It's like, it's not that it's not realistic, because that does happen in real life, but at the same time, from like a satisfying storytelling standpoint, I feel like by the end of the episode we'll find out if it was Helena or Helly that went in. Okay, I think I'm gonna bounce back. I think maybe it is Helena after finding out it's 48 hours, and just because of it feels like that might be what note the episode ends on here. I wonder if Audi Dylan, George, I don't know if that's his last name or first name, was able to negotiate like a raise after the runaround they did with him. And why would Audi Irv agree to come back too, I wonder? Is he just in it to get as much chances as possible to investigate, even if it's his Innie investigating? If he even realizes that his Innie's making any progress. Ooh, so many things to think about.
Morning, Jed.
I'm surprised she bothers to say good morning to the doorman. Yeah, I feel like, like they're dramatizing this ending. It feels like there's going to be a catch to it. She doesn't have the chip in her, or it's just set to not activate as she goes up. Or is she just nervous about giving control back to her Innie after seeing them fall in love? Oh, she's back! Why is she back?
Hey!
She's not even trying to put on
Where do you
airs.
think you're going?
She's just no bullshit right now.
What do you care?
Is she moving? Is she like moving out? Yeah, she has to
You were
be.
in my house. You.
Regardless of being fired or if she's promoted, she probably leaving either way.
Capital involved.
Why is she acting like this though? It seems like she's being spiteful. Does that mean she didn't accept their
so
promotion?
easy.
Crash out on her, Mark! Crash out on her! Why would the company even let
Why
her
did
go
you do
back
this?
without monitoring their neighborhood? Why would they let her have an interaction with him? Risk letting her having her. What is going on? Are you an ally? Gemma? Gemma? Janemba? Yo, she's actually phased. I'm phased that she's phased. Is she gonna have a redemption arc? Whoa, it... Okay, that actually scared the shit out of me. Yo, that actually scared the shit out of me. That as the ending is wild. That scared the shit out of us, huh? Let me just skip through right here. Okay, that was season 2, episode 2. That ending was quite crazy, I would say so, in a weird sense. Not in the conventional sense, just that it makes me have no idea what they're trying to do in a slightly good way. I'm not like absolutely hooked on it, but I am just like satisfyingly perplexed. Like, why would Cobell not want her job back there? Especially if it's a promotion, even though it might be like only a promotion in name or whatever, when she was so obsessed with the whole company. I think maybe we can justify it by saying that what she's obsessed with is like what she perceives as the core tenets. Like in religious history of all religions, you always got these things going on where people think that their interpretation is better. So like they create their own sects and like wars break out between the sects and stuff like that. So maybe it's her now thinking that Lumen as a company isn't following Kier the right way after she's had her kind of like trial, her beliefs shaken up by being fired and whatnot. So maybe that's an element or a justification for her actions that they might go into. Yeah. So they didn't show, or I mean, I guess they more so implied that it's regular heli up there, down there in the Innie world, because they didn't really show anything to imply that it was any different from the regular everyday procedure of going down there and turning into your Innie self. Yeah. It was interesting. I kind of feel like there's not much to talk about at the end of these episodes. I feel like I never really have anything to say right at the end, immediately after at least. Maybe after I read some stuff, I'll have a lot to talk about just like last week. But I would say the biggest things, my biggest takeaways from this episode was how they explicitly name dropped the Cold Harbor operation, objective, whatever, as something really important. They explicitly worded it as, "We need Mark S." I think that might be just the main takeaway for me, or the biggest thing on my mind. Because when you think about it, Dylan is supposedly the best person in their department. He was the hardest worker and had the best results. So it might not just be about wanting Mark because he was good at his job. Even though maybe you could say because he was head, he brought Dylan up to that performance level. But no, because Dylan was always a good performer and Mark wasn't always department head. Petey was department head before him. And Dylan already had all those finger traps then. So it has to do specifically with Mark being good at Cold Harbor, which was represented by pictures of Gemma which makes things even more confusing. Unless, in that case, I think it's going to veer towards then that the storyline, the context involving her death is what's really important here. Why was she killed? How was she killed? Was it because she has some connection to like the Egans or Kier or something? I am kind of forgetting what they said the cause of death was. Was it a car crash? But yeah, that I think is the main thing on my mind right now, that I'll be thinking about as I read other people's, interpretations and theories and analysis of this episode. So yeah, I'm gonna go do that right now or later on throughout the week, and maybe we'll have some more things to discuss at the beginning of next week's reaction. But that's gonna wrap it up for this episode, this reaction to this episode. So thanks for watching, guys. I will see you next week.